Okay, on the
Yeah,
screen,
somehow, I don't know.
what I have set up here now, this is not a slideshow. I have a special projector that's set up to project the
They used to live on
contents
Lions
of
Avenue. Their houses on
our library website. This is a new website that's available to all of you and to anyone in the world. Anyone who has an internet connection can now go to this address that's shown here and access the Wanaque Area Local History Archive. This archive was funded with a $2,500 grant from the New Jersey State Library from a fund called the Technology Bond Fund, administered by the New Jersey State Library. And you know, to be honest with you, I am not an historian of the Wanaque area. I'm a librarian. I'm interested in presenting information and making information available for people, and that's what this archive is doing. Sam DiBenedetto and Bill Trusowitz were my inspirations in putting this archive together. When I began to see, you know, how interesting it is to see some of these old photographs and, you know, really catch a glimpse of how things were 100 years ago, I found that to be very, very interesting. And at the same time, I was learning about how to build a website. And I took some courses on HTML, which is the language for encoding information on a website. And as I say, I got some funds from the New Jersey State Library. Mr. DiBenedetto and Mr. Trusowitz were kind enough to lend me some photographs, some of which you've already seen in Mr. Trusowitz's presentation, for inclusion in the website. And, you know, this is, you know, I'm in no way putting this forward as, you know, better than the knowledge and work that Sam and Bill have done. They are, you know, among my biggest sources in constructing this. What I've done here in creating this website, though, is make a resource which is easily available to lots and lots of people, and which, you know, this is, we're in talking about digitizing photographs, putting photographs in a digital format. Some of these old photographs are very fragile, and if they are handled by lots and lots of people, they tend to deteriorate more quickly. When a photograph is digitized, put into an electronic format like this, you're seeing a replica of the photograph, and no harm is done at all to the original photograph. The original photograph can sit safely preserved as well as possible. I mean, it deteriorates anyway over time, but it can deteriorate much more slowly, and at the same time, more and more people can have access to these resources. More and more people can have access to these materials. And so that's what we have here. On all of our computers upstairs, if you sit down in the library, what you're looking at here is the web page itself. When you come into our library upstairs, you see this on the computer screen. That's our default home page. That's the home page of the Wanaque Public Library. And this is our address here, http://www.palsplus.org. PalsPlus is our consortium, our library consortium, /Wanaque. And my predecessor, Stan Polikoff, who was the director before me, built this website, and this is our basic interface to the internet here in the library. You're also welcome, if you have internet connection at home, to make use of our homepage to go and surf the net. We have these buttons on the homepage here. You can go directly to various search engine possibilities. You can go into Yahoo and so forth, which is a search engine. Anytime you click home in the library, it takes you right back here. Our library catalog is available also here. I'm just pointing these things out to you as you know, part of the library's offerings. What I did as to our topic today, I put a button on the page, on the home page, which says Local History Archive. So anytime you're in the library and you click Local History Archive, it's going to take you right to our new website, which I've called the Wanaque Area Local History Archive. And I'm working again with photographs loaned to me by Sam DiBenedetto and by Mr. Trusowitz, and I use a number of photographs with permission from Minnie Mae Monks' book, Windbeam. Wonderful photographs by this photographer named Vernon Royal. Now, Vernon Royal, as Mr. Trusowitz said, was a photographer who photographed in this area in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and he was an excellent photographer as far as I'm concerned. To my taste, he did some very, very, you know, artistic photographs, nicely balanced, nice lighting and everything like that. And I started this lead off with one that that Bill showed a minute ago. The date given is 1870 for this photo. Again, here's where I offer that you if you have information that I am presenting inaccurate information here, it is possible. I am conveying what has come to me from my sources. My main sources that I used for written information were the Jubilee books, the Golden Jubilee books, the Golden Jubilee book, and the Diamond Jubilee book. I spoke with Jeanette Biggio and Sam Palatucci to get their permission, and Sandra Storms Putnam, who did some revisions for the Diamond Jubilee book, and they were all happy to be included in this effort. It's a nonprofit effort. It's just, you know, it's informational and for for the students and people of Wanaque primarily. So the text, a lot of the text I took directly from the Jubilee books. I spoke with Mabel Monks right here in Pompton Lakes about the inclusion of the Vernon Royal photographs. When Minnie Mae Monks wrote Windbeam, Vernon Royal gave her a whole bunch of really wonderful, priceless photographs of the area in the late, the early 1900s. I don't know, some of them go back to the late 1800s, as this one is said to go back to 1870. But they certainly are from the early 1900s, and they show the Wanaque area really before the impact of the 20th century, which is why I found them to be really tasteful in some of this archive work here. So those are my three main sources of photographs: Bill Trusowitz, Sam DiBenedetto, and Vernon Royal, as per the Minnie Mae Monk's book Windbeam. My sources, I've gotten permission to use the text and the photographs. Some of them also came from the Lewis P. West collection, but via Sam DiBenedetto and Bill Trusowitz. So when you go online, and this is our address here, you can go directly to it. It's the same address, palsplus.org/Wanaque/archive. And anyone with an internet connection in the world can go to this page and see this. And I've been provided with a hyperlink on the high school website. The Lakeland Regional High School website has a hyperlink right to this site, as does the Wanaque Elementary School have a hyperlink directly to this site. So I'm hoping that, with the flashing lights of the internet, perhaps some students will skim through this and see these photographs and read some of the text, which again is coming to us directly, mostly directly from those Diamond Jubilee books and the Golden Jubilee book. So here we have the Freedom Furnace photo, Vernon Royal photograph, 1870. This is my blurb here. Now I submitted the website address to the various search engines. It has not come up yet. They have a backlog in getting these things indexed. I made this dense with information, but right here, because this is one of how they index the websites on the internet, and I just packed it with everything that's in here, and basically this is what's in here in a nutshell. Welcome to the Wanaque Area Local History Archive. Presented here for your study and enjoyment, find writings on New Jersey history, particularly on the early days of the Wanaque and Haskell area, from the time of the Lenni Lenape through British colonial America to the 20th century. Read about early European settlement of Old Pompton Township, the chartering of the borough of Wanaque, the iron mining, the railroad days, the building of the Wanaque Reservoir. Historical photographs from the collections of area residents Sam DiBenedetto and Bill Trusowitz, including some photographs from the older collections of Lewis P. West and Clinton W. Ackerman, provides a window into New Jersey's history and that of the young nation. Along with this photographic history of the early United States, you will find related historical text and some genealogy drawing upon a variety of sources as noted. Take a walk through our archive and learn about the past of the area now home to the Wanaque Reservoir, which provides water to many of New Jersey's cities. Then throughout the website, you'll see these hyperlinks. These are hyperlinks for those of you who are unfamiliar with the internet. And a hyperlink, instead of turning from page to page, you jump from concept to concept. So if you want to click on Wanaque Reservoir, you go right to a page that says Wanaque Reservoir. And we have some historical photographs of the reservoir in 1940. This one comes from Sam DiBenedetto's collection. And then a little history of the North Jersey District Water Supply Commission, and some of the photographs you've seen already in Sam's collection, in Bill's presentation, of the building of the reservoir, the core wall, the steam shovel we saw, and stream control conduits. Beautiful, beautiful photographs of the building. And then this photo comes from the Minnie Mae Monk's book. I put this in here with this little piece that I got from the Golden Jubilee book, about the the heart of the borough being happy and sad with the coming of the reservoir, because it meant that it was going to be a source of employment in the borough, and a good and noble thing to have a reservoir built, I think. But it also meant that the whole part of history was being changed. All of the Hook Road residences, the early settlers, cemeteries were relocated, and that's all detailed in here. And I put this photo of, I think this is Westbrook at the spring thaw, just to to provide a thought about the availability of water in the watershed area. That's why the reservoir is here, because it's it's naturally a watershed, and there certainly is a lot of water in the area. And then here again, these came to me from Mr. Trusewitz, aqueduct and the Wanaque Dam under construction, and so forth. You've seen some of these, also the construction site. On each of the pages you'll find, at the bottom of the page, I may be fiddling with the design of this a little bit, but each of these is a hyperlink to another page, and the main design of the website is like this. There's the archive home page, which you saw, it has the Vernon Royal photograph at the top. Then there's a page on early European settlers, a page on historic Wanaque Borough, a page on the ironworks, a page, sort of a mini page on Lenni Lenape, because I wanted to do something on 1,000 years ago in the Ramapo Mountains. Since this is our turn of the century and turn of the millennium, I wanted to look back 1,000 years, if in as much as I can. And the railroad in Wanaque, and then my works cited page, where I give my acknowledgments to the books and contributors to the website. Now, the way a website works is I'm working with my mouse here. You're looking at exactly what you'd see on a computer screen up in the library or at your home internet connection. And I'm working with a mouse to move this arrow. You can navigate through the whole website. Home in this website is going to bring you back here. You just click on it and it brings you back here like this. Then at the bottom of each page, there's going to be a next and a previous. This is the first page, so there's just a next. Next will take you right through the whole website. Here's the early European settlers, the Ryerson Farm on Hook Road, 1780. This is all under the reservoir now, and this is, to the best of my knowledge, these are John A. Ryerson's daughters with their grandchildren, along with Edward R. Brown and Frank R. Parry. We have a map here, which you might look up after we're done here. We found a map in the library drawn by Frank R. Parry, which shows the area as existed in the late 1700s, Fran? What is that? 1870. And it has a lot of these residences. It has the reservoir on this map in a dotted line, and then it shows the location of these various residences, the Ryerson Farm and the other Hook Road residences of the early settlers. So, going back to the beginning, let's just skim right down here. We have our introduction. I wanted to put this little note from the webmaster here, because this occurred to me. I have gained a great respect for these local historians I have met here, because this is one of these little things that has to do with human work. Unless someone takes it to mind to do the work involved in compiling these photographs and compiling the history and doing a little bit of the work involved, unless the work is done, it's something that can very, very easily slip away, because as the old timers pass on, so go many of the memories. Now, we're trying to document this here today, and we're going to have a videotape of this day available in the library, and just to try to try to make real some of this this available history. And I've included this little thought here, a note from the webmaster. The above photograph was taken in 1870 by Vernon Royal, a well-known Wanaque area photographer of the time. As I consider this photograph and others that have come my way for inclusion in this archive, I reflected that there will be no new photographs taken of 1870. Whatever photographs of 1870 exist now in museums or private collections tell the entire photographic story of 1870. I offer that you bear this in mind as you peruse this archive and others of its kind, and take the thought with you to the future the next time you yourself take a photograph of this time we call the present day. Richard L. Mariconda. And then there's a facility here to email me directly with your comments if you want. I've already, by the way, gotten some comments from other parts of the country. People said, one emailer wrote that he had lived in Wanaque years ago, moved away, and someone forwarded this address of this website to him, and he was delighted to find. He said it made him homesick to see the website. So anyway, going down this page here, we have again. This is all drawn from the Golden Jubilee booklet, the meaning of Wanaque, either an Algonquin root meaning rest and repose, or more popularly a place of sassafras, coming from the Indian word with many spellings, Wanaque. Various Wanaque here, and then I have a section here on the Lenni Lenape, going back 1,000 years or so. I included this photograph with the Lenni Lenape section because as I looked at it, this is from the Minnie Mae Monk's book, Windbeam, and I thought to myself, this is of Westbrook, above the falls. I thought to myself, this photograph looks like it shows an area that looked exactly like that 1,000 years ago. I think, there probably are some places like that that just have not, it looked exactly like that. Probably looked like that 2,000 years ago. And Indian names, this all comes from the Golden Jubilee book. And I'm not going to read through all this now, but I just wanted to introduce it to you and invite you to explore it more fully at the on the library internet stations or at your home internet stations if you have it available. But basically the organization of it is like this. This is my introduction, and this is what people are going to go through in the search engines to find New Jersey history or genealogy, whatever reasons they might bring it up, other than the people right in the area here. Then the Lenni Lenape. We have early European settlement. This is about the proprietors, the Board of Proprietors of New Jersey, and how all of this land was divided up, and going into the early Dutch and German settlement of the area, and the settlement of Passaic County. So this takes it from. I was amazed at this. The British Empire, when it was at its height of colonizing, had such a perspective on things. It was New Jersey divided up as a birthday present. That's what we have here. We have in 1498, John Cabot sailed off the coast, giving England claim to what is now called New Jersey. King Charles II of England owned much of America, and in March 1664 granted the region between the Hudson and Delaware rivers to his brother James, Duke of York. And here in June 1664, James, Duke of York, conveyed the land to two court friends who had stood by the monarchy during the Cromwellian Revolution, namely John Lord Berkeley and Sir George Carteret, as tribute to their stout defense of the Isle of Jersey when King Charles had fled there in 1649. So, the transactions that were taking place in these days were monumental scale transactions. All of New Jersey was given away as a gift and then divided up as a gift, and again, New Jersey meaning Nova Caesarea, New Jersey. That's how it was called on the original deed in Latin. And then tells about the dividing of New Jersey and the forming of the Board of Proprietors, which was the way much of New Jersey was sold up until when the Board of Proprietors was dissolved. It was, where was it here? Oh, here it is here. 1998, until 1998, there was an organization called the Board of Proprietors, and they were involved in the original selling of the the lease to Wanaque, which I have in another part of the archive here. It says. This goes through the passing of the ownership of the area of New Jersey. Where's the bit about the Board of Proprietors? I found that to be kind of interesting. In 1676, agreement was reached on the East New Jersey, West New Jersey division in the quintipartite deed, so called because it was signed by 5 men: William Penn, Gavin Laurie, Nicholas Lucas, and Edward Billing for West New Jersey, and Sir George Carteret for East New Jersey. Such and such, let me see here. The area of 4,000 square miles was sold for £3,400, about $17,000, to a group of 12 bidders that included William Penn. They eventually divided the land into 98 equal shares, established themselves as the proprietors of East New Jersey, and set about selling land. Revenue from the sales was split among the shareholders, and each according to their shares. And it says, this is an interesting point, due to inaccurate surveys, some made at night with the aid of flaming tar barrels toward which the surveyors walked at night to pace off the boundary lines, changes in compass bearings, and oversight, all of the pieces of land owned in New Jersey did not add up to the whole. Since the proprietors once owned all of the state, they figured that all the missing pieces belonged to them, and so did the courts. Any pieces of land which did not show a valid claim belonged to the proprietors. This understanding kept the proprietors in business until 1998, when after 314 years, the oldest continuously operated corporation in the United States was dissolved by a New Jersey court. The board was not chartered by the state since its origin predated the charter of New Jersey. Its remaining assets were sold to the state of New Jersey or donated to the state archives in Trenton. The first conveyance of land within the limits of present Passaic County was a transfer by Indian Chief Captahan Peter of the Indian tribe of the Indian title to a 9-mile island lying in the Passaic River to Hartman Michelson, Vreeland, on April 4th, 1678. And then over the next 100, not even next 100 years, we're going up to maybe 1730. By 1730, then all of this area of Passaic County was settled by German and Dutch farmers. Now, if we skim it, this, by the way, is the Wanaque River. Again, looking pristine back in the very early days. And as you said here, this is Westbrook above the falls. These are both Vernon Royal photographs from the Minnie Mae Monk's book. Now, if we go here step by step to the early European settlers, some great Minnie Mae Monk's photos in here again, because it shows the very early stage. This is a photo we had around the library of the Ryerson Farm on Hook Road. Hook Road now being under the reservoir. 1889 is this photo is attributed to 1889. Then I thought this was a great photo of this settlement of the valley. This photo is not as early because there were no photographs of the 1700s, but I imagine plowing with oxen was much the same, and I thought this was a good photo to show there. This is also from Windbeam, the plowing with oxen, and discussing the settlement, the activities of these early Dutch, the names here. Beams, Ryersons, Sloats, Van Dynes, Van Wageners, Vreelands, and many others represent families that settled these hills in the early 1700s. The activities of these early Dutch settlers centered on providing the bare necessities of life. Farming was the principal occupation. The men raised sheep. The women spun and wove the wool into cloth. As time passed, the wool was taken to Pompton Lakes and after shearing, made into blankets and yarn. The settlers cut timber from the surrounding forest and hauled it to a sawmill to be made into lumber for their homes. This is also a Vernon Royal photograph. I think he really had quite an eye for
that is her uncle David Miller in that picture.
This is Minnie Mae Monk's uncle.
That's David Miller.
I see.
Miller's Falls or something.
He was the owner of Miller's Falls. That had been in the family since it was bought from Silas Condit, one of the proprietors.
Huh?
In the
Could that be the
1700s.
Miller's Falls area maybe then?
Yes, it is.
Miller's
Yes.
Flats, probably, right?
It's the area that's to the left of Westbrook Road as you're heading west, just past the Stonetown Bridge, the old Stonetown
So
Bridge.
right before Townsend?
Yes, that's it. That's the farm.
Now this I found to be very interesting. The Beam family apparently kept very accurate records, or detailed records in any event, of their family doings. And this is one of the, this again comes from the Jubilee books. The records kept by the Beam family provide us with some of the earliest written history of the Wanaque area, and it talks about the original conveyance from the Indians to Abraham Lyons, Conrad Lyons, and Anthony Beam. And again, here's the Board of Proprietors on August 23rd, 1740. What did they do here? Oh, it was first surveyed by the Board of Proprietors honoring the Indian conveyance, and then it was conveyed back to someone else, back to Richard Ashfield, who had another claim to the land, and then it was conveyed back from Richard Ashfield to Anthony Beam, Anthony Line, and Conrad Line. Anthony Beam's 1/3 amounted to 277 3/4 acres. And this is all from the Beam records. I think these records in their entirety are in the Newark Museum, Newark Historical Society.
There's the other two people who were in that that are mentioned there, Conrad Lyons and Abraham Lyons.
Uh-huh.
If you look at that, you'll see that there were three people who bought that tract of land. And the Jubilee book focuses in on the Beam family, but makes little mention after that about the other two, who also held each of them held 1/3 of the land. And family tradition says that Anthony Beam's wife was Margaret Lyons, sister to the other two boys.
Huh.
So it was really a family deal. And the reason Richard Ashfield had claim to the land was that in those days you would buy land from the Indians. They would buy it from the Indians first, and pay them something for it.
Right.
And then you could register that purchase. But until you had your deed registered with the Board of Proprietors, they wouldn't acknowledge it. So the proprietors would challenge any Indian deeds. Ashfield was an attorney representing the board, and then he would act on their behalf, and eventually the deeds would be acknowledged and the land would be marked off for what it was really, supposed to be as far as the acreage and locations and stuff. And then, because a lot of the people who had settled in the Wanaque area in the late 1600s were actually living on the land before the proprietors were established.
Huh.
So that was the way they negotiated how to recognize those very old deeds, so that people weren't cheated out of land they'd already settled on.
And so did they have to renegotiate with the
They
proprietors?
didn't have to renegotiate. The proprietors were smart enough to acknowledge that those very large landholders were not people they wanted to fool with.
Thinking of the Beam family reminds me of the little graveyard that used to be
Yes.
right by Eleanor Estates now.
Yes, that graveyard is,
behind Lakeland.
that graveyard, from what I understand, has vanished. But if you read the webpage here, it says that it's still there. And the fact is that,
There's a house there.
the fact is
There's a
that
house right over.
Now this is,
the grave is
That was
gone.
never taken.
which grave is this now? I need to
You
change this.
mentioned it right there in that section.
Okay. Down here, let me see.
There's a mention of it that says that it's here. What, stop?
Oh, cemetery? The cemetery of a branch of the Beam family is still visible. Okay.
And it is no longer visible.
No longer visible. Okay. These are the things I have to add in the updates. No longer visible. Okay. Again, here's another photo of that Dave. What's the last name? Dave Miller. David Miller with his oxen.
That is the person after whom Miller's Falls is named. His family, actually.
This is also now gone in the reservoir. It was called Faralasco Pond. Yeah, Faralasco Pond. Throughout the website, then, if you get a chance to peruse this, I've tried to put in hyperlinks right into the text as well. You can get around in various ways. You can just go through it next like this, next and previous pages. Home is always going to take you back to the original page in the website, or you can go right down this topical arrangement here. There also are, throughout the website, then, wherever you see the blue words with the underline, that's a hyperlink. So if you wanted to click on Ryerson family, it's going to take you right here to that picture of the
Give you some
Ryerson.
information on that if you want it. that picture? Can you enlarge that picture by any chance?
I can't in this context.
If you
No.
notice the center, right dead center in that
That's
picture,
Ace's house.
there's a little girl being held in a woman's arms,
Right.
right there.
Yeah.
That is Mabel Doty,
Huh.
who became Mabel Strange and was living in the 70s on Doty Road in Haskell. And her family gave us the original photograph of that house. And all the people on the back are listed.
Huh.
Did you say Hazel?
Hazel.
Hazel, yes.
Hazel Doty. Did I say Mabel?
Hazel. That's why I was correcting you. It's Hazel.
Hazel Doty. But if you have the technology at your home, when you're on the website, and you're looking at what we're seeing here, if you double click that picture, most browsers will enlarge it for you. You can actually see their faces. It's amazing.
Huh. Even without building that into the architecture of the website?
Most browsers will let you enlarge it.
Let me just skim through the rest of this and let everyone. This again from the Minnie Mae Monk's book, Westbrook, Below the Stone Town Bridge, by Vernon Royal. Photographs. And again, as Mr. Townsend is saying, this is focused on the Beam family because that's the information I had to work with.
Sure,
pretty much.
sure. That's a common
Yeah.
perspective.
Then these I thought were also beautiful photographs. This is also under the reservoir now. Captain Joseph Bard's homestead at the head of the Wanaque Valley.
If you look at that photograph, if you were coming down what used to be called Tice Pond Road, is now called Skyline Drive, where it intersects Ringwood Avenue, that home set slightly north to the right. And the mountain you see in the back of it is called, I believe, Board Mountain. And the Monksville Dam crosses right across that valley right there now. That home was a Edward R. Hewitt was the last of the Ringwood Company folks to have it. It was going to be renovated and used as a tea room, and the Wanaque Reservoir Project claimed it as being inside the take lot. And, there's a photograph of the house being renovated, and of course they had to abandon it because it's going to be taken down.
Now this area here is not under the reservoir.
Yes, it is.
It is under the reservoir. Because someone was here in the library the other day says he lives right near there.
Oh, you mean on the one on the left?
The one on the left. I'm sorry. The one on
The
the
one on the left, that's the intersection of Townsend Road and Westbrook Road. Those are Dave Miller's cornfields on the right, and below that was a family named Norton, who also had a farm.
Okay, so that was the early European settlers page. Historic Wanaque Borough. Then I'll be here working with some photographs that came from Mr. DiBenedetto and Mr. Trusewitz. You saw this one earlier.
There's a note on that one for you too. You have that down at Shippey's Pharmacy.
This here.
Prior to it being Shippey's Pharmacy, it was Tice's Pharmacy. John Tice ran it for a number of years before.
The same building.
Same building.
Here's another photograph. You saw another edition of this in Bill's. I got this from Bill for the paper mill, which is now at the site of the Raymond Dam. And this is information from the Golden Jubilee book about the early days of the town. And you saw this photograph of the Haskell School. This is a school bus from the 1930s.
It looks dilapidated.
A note on the schoolhouse. The right side of that schoolhouse is the oldest portion, and the left side of the schoolhouse was an addition that was put on later. The property on which that schoolhouse stands was donated for $1 by Cornelius van Wagner with a number of stipulations put into the lease. Just like with the Hewitt contribution of the Midvale School, if it was ever used for anything other than a school, the property would revert back to the family.
Huh.
If it was destroyed by fire or for any natural disaster was rendered unusable, it had to be rebuilt within 6 months. It could be taken down only if it was to be replaced by another school, which is why when DuPont wanted to donate the school, they had to have that building up pronto,
Uh-huh.
because the Wagner family was waiting and ready to take it all back.
What did Mr. Van Wagner do for a living? Do you know?
He was a farmer.
Oh,
He married Margaret. Hold on. Margaret Post, the daughter of Major Adrian Post of Compton. His wife, Major Adrian Post's wife, was Mariah Bourdain. And that property across the street from that school is the current home of Walter McKinnon. That was Cornelius and Wagner's home.
because his daughter or granddaughter was my school teacher.
Yes, that's right. And she's still living.
Is she?
Eleanor's in a nursing home.
Is she now?
Yeah, down in
Yeah.
Mid-Country.
Yes, and
She married a Ricker after.
also across the street
Finally.
from that school, on the opposing corner, was a blacksmith shop that had been there since the late 1700s.
Now, there's a tiny little farmhouse across the street that's still there. It sits sideways instead of facing. Do you know
Yeah,
anything
I don't
about
know
that?
who
That's a
that was.
Berry. That was a Berry home.
Berry house?
Mrs. Butler was a Berry, and she inherited it. That's why on our street we have to be called Butler Place. The other is Wanaque, because she sold some land to the builders, and she said with a stipulation, you got to call it Butler Place. And I guess they wanted it Wanaque, so they half of it.
The house you're referring
Butler.
to was a Berry house.
Yes,
The Berrys were son-in-laws of the Van Wagners.
they
That
were good.
house is the Cornelius Van Wagner house, and that goes back to the early 1700s.
Yeah,
They had 1,648 acres between two brothers that crossed Ringwood Avenue perpendicular. Ran all the way back to Post Brook on the Bloomingdale side,
Wow.
and all the way over, across the Wanaque River, up towards the mountain on the other side. And that 1,684 acres, not 48 acres.
That little house should be preserved for always, you know?
yeah. McKinnon owns that now. A McKinnon. But they bought it from whoever, I don't know.
Butler's had it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Put this in about the history of the Wanaque Borough. I included this photograph. Some of these things, you know, for the very early days, I had no photographs of these things. But this is a photograph that came from the Minnie Mae Monk's book, and this portion of the website speaks about the division of Pompton Township in around 1918, when the three boroughs of Bloomingdale, Ringwood, and Wanaque separated from Old Pompton Township to form distinct municipalities. And I thought this photograph of two chestnut trees from this looked like they're from the same family tree there. And I thought that was kind of poetic or something. These photographs, you've seen these in Bill's collection of Shippies and Railroad Avenue, and this is looking up the other way up Railroad Avenue. I'm not sure if these came from Sam or from Bill. Has a copy. I think they both have copies of these, or copies of copies. This is on Darrow's or Columbia Hotel. Ship.
That's from the back part of it.
This is going up this way. Shippies is up at this end, and
Yeah.
here's Don Darrow's here. This is looking down the street. It's the same street, looking up in two different ways. I have a little. This is one of my little things that I learned how to do here. If you click in here, if you have Explorer, you can get a little. I have this little click slideshow here, which shows the
You can
post office in
acquire,
Haskell. I don't know how to.
Double click on it.
What double
on your
click
picture.
on the picture?
That's the old Haskell Post Office
Yeah.
on the
Gasoline.
right, and
Can you
Wedham's store
double
was
click
the
on the
other
picture?
on the
With
left.
with a right click,
No, right on the picture itself.
Right.
Left click.
left click.
Isn't that a gasoline pump on the left there?
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
no.
mine on
Yeah.
the Netscape browser, I was able to enlarge every one of
Huh.
those photographs. So
Really?
it's a huge view. You can stare them right in the face.
Wow, I'll have to check that out. Anyway, this little click here, we got the Haskell Hotel, which I'm told this building is still standing there.
Yes,
Yes.
that was the Haskell Post Office, and on the left was Wedham's store. He had a grocery store there. That was on the corner where that railroad went across.
Can I
That's
ask you-
Scafino's ice cream store.
Can I actually try
Became the
one more
bakery
thing?
after.
Yeah.
Use your right mouse click on one of the pictures. Touch the picture, use your right mouse.
Okay.
Hold
That-
it down.
wait a minute.
Hold it down. Do you see view picture in there anywhere?
I see, set as wallpaper, save picture as, there's no active view picture, just,
Do you wanna try it?
what's that, set as wallpaper?
No, save picture as.
I would rather not
Okay, we can
go
do it
into that.
offline, because I'll
Okay.
tell you, anybody who has access to that website will have an extraordinary collection of photographs that you can see in incredible detail.
Oh, that's true, that's
Amazing
true, you
piece
could
of
just
work.
save it right down. That's, now, let's show people how to do that there, Richard, you just click,
Uh,
like this,
Yep,
Save-
save picture as.
save picture as,
Let it go.
okay,
Notice where you are, you're on your desktop,
alright, I'll save this to,
save it where you want it.
yeah, I'm gonna put it down to, let me see, well, I'm just gonna save it on the desktop for now, cause I don't have anything.
Give it a name that you'll recognize,
P.O. Haskell, there,
and save it.
let's see,
Then go into Explorer,
alright,
Windows Explorer,
alright, I'm in,
minimize your screen.
okay,
Do you
there,
have Windows Explorer?
I have this here, let me see, let me see. Can I just open it on the desktop?
Start program. Windows, see if you have Windows Explorer listed anywhere.
There it
There
is.
Go to your desktop. You see desktop listed?
I'm looking.
See, at this point, when you find that in your desktop,
Oh, here it is.
for
Okay,
your picture that you just saved,
there it is.
Right.
There it is.
that will work for every photograph on that website.
Yeah,
You will
there's
not
a-
believe the detail.
There's the pump there, you can see that there.
Oh, yeah,
Neat.
made it bigger too.
So you can very quickly, thanks to Mr. Townsend here, you can have your own collection of these photographs.
So is the auto parts store next to that?
Yeah,
Is that what that
yes,
is?
yes. They got it closed in now.
Yeah.
You don't recognize it, that's how it looked years ago. Yeah, Auto Parts is right
So if
next
you
door
just
to
close
it.
that down and
next to
maximize your,
Next to Lakeland.
go back to your,
Yeah, I can't quite see it. Wait a second.
the screen has to get a little lower.
Yeah.
Take it right there. Nope.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna open it again.
So you imagine what you're
There
gonna
we
see
are.
when you look at that furnace picture. If you, bring those things up close, you can look right inside the furnace.
You have to write those steps down for me, though.
Yeah,
Gonna teach a class, Betsy.
Well, I think I've invited Mr. Townsend here to do his presentation on Windbeam and Minnie Mae Monks. So look for that in the papers sometime
yeah,
in
we
the
saw
new
it,
year.
but we'll see it again.
That's excellent, I'll watch that 20 times.
We saw it in
Okay.
Hawthorne.
Railroad Avenue,
Good.
Sufino's store,
Yeah,
1905.
oh, yeah.
Ackerman relatives visiting Wanaque in the 1920s.
Wow.
Haskell Hotel, William Van
That's
Orden,
gone.
Hoar
That's
Sundry,
where that garage
and
was, they just tore
William
down.
Specht.
Oh, really?
That's not-
On the
that's-
corner of Doty?
Yeah, right on the corner.
General sewer.
Remember they tore down that sewer garage, it was
Yeah,
next to
Just-
Jack's Hardware,
general,
Donny
yeah,
Road on that
general
corner.
sewer.
right on that corner,
That's
Union,
torn down, yeah.
Doty Road.
Ryan Smith store.
That's the Ryan Smith building,
There's
yeah.
also a
When you
post
enlarge
office.
that picture,
That's still in existence.
when you enlarge that picture, you can see what the goods are in the window of the store. You don't have to do it now, it'll take you some time.
Okay.
Believe me.
Now this is World War I think. They have the broad brim hats on.
Yes,
These-
that's the 1933 celebration of World War I veterans.
Huh.
It was conducted at DuPont in Haskell. And there's a book like the Jubilee book that I brought with me that has a collection of those photographs in it.
Huh.
Amazing encampment of an entire division.
Huh. we saw this one in Mr. Truzewitz's
Yeah.
collection, 1906. It was sent, I think it was a postcard as I
Yes,
went
it
through
was.
And it was the date of the sending of the postcard was
It's
1906.
built 1902.
This one's from Windbeam. Put that in there. This was a Shippey house in Butler.
Yeah.
That house is still standing.
Is it?
It's on High Street. Only part of it is standing.
Oh,
One of the Midvale School. And the Midvale bus, John Mangini.
Mangini, yeah.
Now that bus is in front of the Patterson Municipal Building.
That actual vehicle?
No, no, that, in that picture, that's where.
Oh, in that. Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's the front of the Patterson Municipal Building.
Ran from Patterson through Midvale to Greenwood Lake and back.
They had to push it up that hill. They had to get out of the car, out of the bus, and push it up the hill.
They pack a lunch.
That's
walk
quite a
down
hill,
the
you know.
wait for it. Yeah.
But Mangini wasn't the first one. Lydecker was the first,
Uh-huh. Okay.
all the way to Greenwood Lake. And he plowed the road too. First one to plow the road to Greenwood Lake.
This also is Shippey's then?
Yeah.
that's Shippey's, yeah. See how it went up the steps?
Dirt road. And this is, we saw earlier, north of the library
This
here.
is great. I mean,
Yeah.
good photos.
Yeah.
There's the fishing plant.
That Mexico and Sarasota flour, we used that in our bakery when I was a kid.
Yeah, if
I
you-
remember the flour.
If you look at that one closely, it's the, I forget the man's name, but he was a fish.
Huh. Okay. And the Iron Works.
It's on the corner.
This is all down Furnace Avenue under the reservoir now.
Right.
But these are very, this is the one we had in the library for a long time. Built in 1838 by Martin J. Ryerson. We have a little bit of various views of that. This one was the one by Vernon Royal. You can see the style. I really
Went out
think
of blast 1855, if you want to know.
yeah, I put that, I think I have that down here. And
There were 3 grist mills, a sawmill, a forge, and a furnace, all located in that area that was at that time called Freedomdale and Freedom Flat.
in the area of the furnace?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
1965 or 7, the dam broke, and the mill, the forge and the furnace had already stopped operating about 10 years prior to that. But the grist mills and the sawmill stopped at that point because there was no more water supply. But prior to the reservoir being built, the Ringwood Company had rebuilt that dam just a short while before the reservoir was constructed, and their plans were to reoperate that facility. And by the way, on the top, if you notice that picture you have right there,
The Vernon Royal one?
one a little higher if you would.
Huh?
Right there in that photograph, if you look at that closely, on the top, there are 2 big iron hoops.
That's the hot blast.
They are it's part of the system that held the hot blast pipes in place. Those are buried in the lawn at Ringwood.
Huh.
You can see them on the south side of the manor house
From this very furnace?
from that furnace. Yeah.
And this, I'm told by Mr. De Benedetto that this furnace was then taken apart and used as riprap in the building of the dam.
Isn't it? Yeah. Yep.
He showed that.
You
on the
notice that
film.
the top part of that furnace has a different style stonework on the very top?
Uh-huh.
That was added to the furnace later so that they could put that blast system in place. That was one of his inventions.
Huh.
And other than that top part of the furnace, that was a model furnace. It was a very typical style, typical size for its period.
Huh. So this is the new technology on the top there.
I have a self photo I showed of me with the pipe there that went around. Yeah. For the hot blast.
Then some text about the history. Mr. Truzewitz, I took this from your notes. Do you know the source of this information? I wanted to just give credit in the website wherever it was.
Where I picked it up?
This was in your notes.
You could say the Vanishing Iron Works of the Ramapos by
Okay.
James Ransom.
I did give them credit on
He-
my page. I just
Not
wanted
only
to-
is an author of that book, but he's a very good and close friend of mine.
section Lenny Lenape, I just have really just this one section on the first page.
I just
here.
say he's
We
my
did that
mentor.
already.
One of many.
And the railroad. Again, you saw this picture from Mr. Trusewitz, the Erie Station in Haskell. 1865 was the year when the railroad started coming through here, according to my sources. And in 1872, Midvale was listed as a stop on the Montclair Railroad. This is the line that ran to Greenwood Lake, which was a resort. A resort. And again, here's the Wanaque Midvale Station. And the little blurb from the bottom of that photograph about Charles Bowman, the last agent for the station. This I included here because of the railroad tracks. I suppose it should really be in the reservoir section, the building of the reservoir. But I don't know. Is this? It shows a railroad train here, so I put it in
That
the
was a construction train.
construction train for the reservoir, right?
Yeah,
More
for
properly,
that,
right.
yeah, right, absolutely.
Yes, it really should be with.
Should be with the reservoir pages,
Yeah.
right? This is a photo taken by Clinton W. Ackerman of the Ringwood station in the 1930s, and the trestle, also in the 30s. And this is a little steam train at the Wanaque Midvale station down at the end of Railroad Avenue.
Right. And the hotel is a Columbia Hotel,
This
right
Columbia
there.
Hotel right there.
Yeah,
right?
that's the Dunderos.
Now this, someone corrected me on this yesterday, saying that this view cannot possibly be 1947. So I need to get correct
That's
information
wrong.
about this one. This was
That looks
taken
like
from
the
a
Westbrook, doesn't it?
It was a postcard, and the postcard was sent in 1947. So, but I don't know exactly the date of this view, or what it is. It said Wanaque Railroad Trestle in Wanaque is what it said on the.
Was there
Postcard.
a date, was there a name or a date on the back of the postcard when it was printed?
It did not have the publication information. It just had the date when it was sent. Someone sent this postcard in 1947.
Most of those postcards from around this area were a promotional deal done by the merchants.
Ah.
You'll see the Rhinesmiths publish some, the Tices publish some. Almost all the merchants in town would sponsor the publication of those postcards and sell them in their stores.
Uh-huh.
So they were usually done between 1901 and 1910, thereabouts.
Huh.
That train trestle right there is pre the metal train trestle that they tore down.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one over there.
The 1700s for the iron ore.
So this is the same structure. This
Same span.
the same span. I
The
see.
reflection there is what fools you there. It's not as high as it looks.
Right. I see.
Half
here's
of that
the,
is
here's,
in the water.
here's the water line, but I'm just trying to place this and in terms of this.
Yeah, well,
They come in
the-
with the free iron ore.
Right.
That
That
the
was
only
probably
one.
when they
Railroad
were
company
tearing
came
it
from
down,
Jersey City,
because
Greenwood.
Right.
that was
And
there
spurred wherever it had to spur. That
up
was the
until a
original
few
trestle.
years back.
This
Before the metal one was built.
this one here.
Yeah.
So then this is certainly older than 1947. So
Oh, yeah.
But the photograph could have been taken around the turn of the century.
yeah.
Somebody might have had it in their house for a while.
I would like to check out and find the exact date of this photo so I can change the information on the website. Then have this page on the reservoir again. We saw this briefly before, 1940 view of Raymond Dam and the reservoir, and the construction photos. I think we already skimmed through this one. And then on my last page here, again, this is from Minnie Mae Monks' book, Windbeam. I just thought it was a nice looking down the road photo for my acknowledgments.
That is Windy Mountain.
This is Windbeam Mountain right here.
That's Westbrook Road.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wind beam up there. You can't mistake that.
And I wanted to, if I may have a minute, I'd like to just read some of these aloud, my acknowledgments here before I get to my work site. It says, my hearty thanks go out to this. By the way, this project was one of the most fun things that I have done in a long time. Learning the encoding language and the scanning and all of that was just a real interesting challenge. And you know, I already have some revisions in the works, and I'm certainly trying to correct the information presented. But I wanted to read my acknowledgments here to the people who inspired it and helped us along. a hearty thanks go out to all who have helped with the creation of the Wanaque Area Local History Archive. To Sam DiBenedetto, whose collection of historical photographs, realia, and knowledge served as an inspiration to begin this project, and whose contribution of materials contributed greatly to the display presented. To Bill Truzewitz for making available many of the historical photographs included here and for sharing his knowledge of the local history, particularly of the early iron mining industry. To the Technology Bond Fund, administered by the New Jersey State Library, for supporting this digital archiving project with a generous grant, which went toward the purchase of the computer where the work was accomplished. To Lewis P. West Sr., whose early collecting of historical photographs has inspired a new generation of collectors and enriched this younger man's effort. To Clinton W. Ackerman for being there with a camera. To Minnie Mae Monks, who loved these hills and valleys and the clear water that nurtures us to this day. To Vernon Royal, who understood what people see and what a camera sees, and thereby provided us with a window to the bygone day. To Frank Palatucci for the work he has done in seeing to the production of both the Golden Jubilee Book and the Diamond Jubilee Book, and for his permission to draw upon these works for building this archive. To Elsie Peters, Jeanette Biggio, and Sandra Storms Putnam, whose work and words presented in the 2 Jubilee books are now reaching a new audience through this online archive. To Mabel Monks of Pompton Lakes, on behalf of the other living members of the Monks family, for her permission to draw upon the book Windbeam by Minnie Mae Monks, and to reproduce some of the Vernon Royal photographs included in her book. And then the books, this is my little bibliography, which in the age of computers is now called Works Cited, I've learned, because Works Cited now includes more than books, could be CD-ROMs or websites or whatever. So here's my Works Cited, and the information on the Lenny Lenape came from these publications by the New Jersey, published by the museums, Patterson Museum and the New Jersey State Museum. Vanishing Iron Works of the Ramapos, in the Ramapos. A lot of information in the Ramapo book, so I didn't speak to someone personally to get permission to quote from that, but it had information about Ryerson, some of his doings with in the days of the early iron furnace, which I thought was kind of interesting. It focuses mainly on Sunnybank and so forth like that, but there's other information specifically about the Wanaque area in there. And then the Jubilee books, where which people are always coming into the library asking for those Jubilee books, and now I have a good portion of that available right here on the website. These are just related books. I didn't draw too much from Lewis P. West because, in fact, I didn't draw anything from his book because he explicitly says that anyone who draws from his works must, contact his estate, and so I did not have time to do that, and so I did not specifically draw from his works, except for the. Now these here are, for any of you who know about the internet, these are off-site hyperlinks which I have provided. These are not endorsed by me or the library, but they are on related topics. These are separate websites. Other websites. For instance, there's a lot of genealogy being done on the internet these days. If you click on Reformed Dutch Church records and so forth, you can get to some of this information. This is not my work. This is not the Wanaque Public Library's work, but these are other websites available on the internet. And one of the things that working this way on the internet provides is the ability to bring together related topics. So these are just provided, with a disclaimer. They're provided for your further research. These are all efforts that take you off of the Wanaque website. I would point this out to you, the Wanaque Virtual Community School. This is a project of the Wanaque Elementary School, and Pat Lupi is a teacher at Haskell and Wanaque School. And this is an effort to make an electronic bulletin board for the community of Wanaque on the internet. And she has various partners in this. We're listed under the government section on Borough Hall. You go down here where it says library, and you can click there and you get our little blurb, my name, and a little blurb about the library. And she's given us a link to our homepage and also to the local history website right here. So I'm hoping that, this is a special incentive to get my information correct on these dates and such. But the students and other people using this resource will then be able to find their way to here quickly and easily, as well as to our library homepage. And they also have a calendar of events. And her effort there is to try to make an electronic bulletin board for the community of Wanaque. And this is the library's page in that. There also here is I communicated with Lakeland Regional High School. This is their website, and if you go in here to the Lakeland Regional High School website, under resources, we have the Wanaque Area Local History Archive is available there. So, I'm hoping that this will make a little bit of local history easy to find and easy to go through for the youngsters, for the students particularly. And that's pretty much what I have to say about my website. I invite you to access it at home. The website, the address is here, but all you have to do is if you get to the Wanaque Public Library website, it's just a click there, and I can provide anyone with this URL if you're interested in exploring further. What I'd like to do now is take a break. We have cookies and coffee and so forth. And then the rest of the day, I'm going to leave to you and to Sam DiBenedetto here, and to take a look at Sam's excellent collection, which really was one of my first inspirations to try this. I said, "Gee, this looks very interesting. Having all these photographs, something should be done with this." So, okay, thank you very much for your interest.
Very good. Really learned something.
Yeah, good.
A fine job. You did some job.
Let me just put this here.
Where she came in, there's so many test holes. You go through the reservoir, there's so many test holes where they, the other muck mines here, besides iron, there's a mica mine back there. And back here, about where we go. Other than that, those two mines he was talking about there, that Rumi mine, that was a new mine. Impact that star, one guy held the star drill and the other guy hit it with the hammer.
That's the one down by Georgetown.
And then,
Yeah, I know, I was mentioning that.
that was actually a steam mine. That's what it was called.
Somebody from the state.
All steamers. And all the rest of them.
Was it too long?
Not
Was it too
the
long?
one that was back here in the corner of the gravel pit, that was a fuel mine. That one used
Kenny
is
Short
right here.
Society does something like a newsletter.
They traveled all the way across country. One blue mine. That is traveled all
So we're
valley.
gonna just, somebody headed that for basics. They'll say, like, you I think I don't care, or just know what it is. Whatever. He's just throwing stuff out. He said, where'd you dump that stuff?
I went all the way in there.
The old county commissioner. A lot older than St. Patrick, where I think it's Bergen. Retrieved everything.
Getting the start of it. You
Some
gotta
got
put it down.
caught, but
Can we stick to 2 weeks?
at least they could have did microfilm it.
That's a neat place. Have you ever put your ear to the back of that line? You can hear the water.
Oh, this technology today,
It's been a while, but I heard it.
he's smart, he's just getting rid of the thing. What do they call those viewers anyway now? I know they're not slide projectors, but what do they call that?
What?
The projector?
For the internet thing?
Yes.
It's just a no, vid-
Because then they alone was looking at all
Cookie
this.
cutters, the cookie cutter house.
They were throwing it.
yeah.
Or the GI house that were
Yep.
built. It has since been added on too.
So many of them have because they were so small.
My in-laws redid the kitchen about 3 years ago, and so they had to tear the whole, they had to gut it.
So anything you grab local history, they jump on it.
Insulation. Yeah, yeah.
We're pulling apart, looking at 1940.
That's
Yeah,
the one they
so
had to dig
it's
up there and put up the.
Newspapers. There's in some areas. I don't think around here, but in some areas they use mica as insulation.
Father Hayes. I gotta find that one.
the wind
He
out.
said,
Yeah.
you get on Father Hayes and go all the way to the end.
in.
Now figure that out. Now he said he has names though. So people
Every
died,
little
they
bit
just
helps,
went,
especially when fuel's
where did the head
expensive.
go? All one of them. It was one of those things.
Wow, that's cool.
You gotta,
I haven't seen many pictures of those.
Oh, really? No. Oh, yeah.
burials, everything in the garage.
That's a saw. That's a full-size saw.
And they're running
They're
off
off
the tractor.
the old tractor, yeah.
Hey, you make do.
Taxes on it, so it's basically, or maybe we're just taxing $1 a year. Basically, it's one of these towns and communities pick up responsibility. Maintain it.
They are.
So somebody says,
Someone built the road there.
and then I'll say, they'll say, oh, sorry, we can't give you permission, because we don't own this land. You know, if you wanna walk on your own, that's up to you, but same thing up in Butler is one.
That cemetery I was talking about?
Go from
You'd never know it was there.
1700
It's
to
wooded.
present. We buried it like a month ago.
Stumble.
The cemetery's baseball band, the cemetery board is busted up. People vandalized the thing. I didn't control it, I mean, we're carrying the neighbors. The town paid to build up but, well, you know what happened is the person was in their 90s.
Sorry,
No families buried there. They have a flatbed dated over 100 years
that's
old.
just my opinion.
Generally speaking,
Hey,
yes.
what do they care, you know, there's like one, what does it make, you're making come on food anyway. Today they make it more difficult. Oh, yeah. But these bodies here, we were showing them.
Oh, really?
Imagine if you take all the headstones, assuming what's left of somebody. No.
Not a nice thought.
Has to be somewhere.
Somewhere along the line.
It was
Put
on
it
this
down
table.
I'm sure it wasn't first cousin.
Oh, thank you. I just didn't want to,
No, we're not up here.
I didn't want to obliterate something else on that table.
I have it in.
I mean, enormous boulders filled up with water to go down into the turbine and spin it. That's from a small they used to go to the next level and then down. That's open all the time. I don't think it was thinking like more what if because of working of those heights of the big heights. You're not built by an engineer who's
This is before they expanded it. What did they did? Then Ryerson had that there.
Yep, that didn't happen.
Well, that's like big afterwards. This dam is like right here. Yeah, right here. Yeah, because the southern tip is where the yacht club is. And up here, this is like so now my grandmother grew up off of this street here called Windermere Ave. But yeah, look at that. That's all most of Ryerson. Charles Ford. Oh, okay. Charles Ford. That Ford guy, he was the, he was like the director of the mine industry. He sent over, what do you call it? Basically mining back in the mid or later 1700s. In other words, he was hired by the financiers from England to come over and oversee the iron industry. He was before Peter Cooper. I'd look at that. Somehow the railroad came up someplace along here, right, and railroad, they blew way up, like somewhere in the southern tip or right over here. Then you took the ferry, or they had like a paddle wheel up here. There was a couple of spots they dropped. There was like 3 boats in the lake. They dropped off a very low salt and they came back. Oh, look at that. Here's the acreage.
I've been working here 30 years and I'm still sleeping.
There's a right and a left. With iron ore. They were slow, lumbering animal, but they did it. They did. A horse, a horse will slip and slide. They just lumber along. There was a team of them, 2 of them. When I was a kid, I used to see them.
I'm sure that's what I got.
Can I ask if you knew somebody? Did you know the Salt Banks?
Most of them, yeah.
Did you know Olive? She married a
Ralph.
Oh, no, okay. The guy you know, it was Ralph's sister.
I'm glad they what's the fifth?
Do you know Frank Hill? Hill? Hill. No.
K-I-L-L? I know Phil that used to have an ice business going.
My great grandfather.
That's somewhere near where
It's right
that's
there.
the Kennedy is, right?
Yes, exactly. Because they had owned the house all the way down the little road and they owned the little lake.
Did you see my display?
I've been looking at everything, yeah. It's fascinating. Very fascinating.
They sold it.
You're smart and get as much as you can, right?
Trying to get a representation of this collection. It's an incredible collection.
Oh, it is. Problem is, you just gotta need the time to look at it all.
That's why all the people that are interested gotta put something together and make sure that it stays here. So you always have time to look at it.
Sam, this is an incredible collection. As I'm going through this
I hate
right
to say,
now.
the library would be perfect. Somebody to donate money to make a case, stays in a case, a locking case. And when special events or things come up, or somebody's doing research, in other words, it's there for anybody, not just restricted to a school or anything. It's open to anybody who wants to come in,
That's right.
and it will be. No, that
Excuse me, I'd like to see the Wanaque history.
you get some stuck-up old teacher or something, spinster, and all of a sudden it's like, forget it, you ain't gonna go near that thing. It's like, okay, whatever. So.
I say it's, you gotta push that mayor and push that committee and all the politicians. That's who you gotta push.
Well, the main thing
Because
is,
this is where it belongs. It belongs to any kid that wants to walk in here. Well, any person. You come in here and just use it. It stays here. It never walks. Because that's the biggest headache of any collector. I don't care who you are. You're afraid it's gonna walk.
oh yeah,
You know, like I say, I spent 2 summers in a dumpster hauling some of them photos out. And
I
that
was gonna
people-
say, well, make it brief. From your recollection, it was I don't know how many years ago it was. Where were they stored and where were they thrown
They
out
were
from?
stored in the vault down here at the old administration building.
Okay.
When people moved up there, they moved all the offices. They had summer help. Well, they had the summer help throwing it in the garbage. They parked the dumpster outside the building, and that's where they threw it. So Sam spent his lunch, and I didn't get a fraction of what was there. You gotta remember, every commissioner got every picture that you see as far as Wanaque residents. They got a complete set, so there was books and books and books, one set.
Okay.
So they were stored in there, complete sets of books with all these photos, glass slides, regular slides, negative
glass slides too.
Oh yeah, and everything was there. The silver shovel and the.
So what did they do? All of a sudden they say we're going to clean it out?
They cleaned it out. They let the summer help throw half of it away. While they were throwing it out, I was spending my lunchtime in there digging it out of the dumpster.
So you couldn't get everything, but you got a lot of it.
I got a lot of it, yeah. But they don't care.
No, that's the shameful part.
They don't care.
Looks like you got a question.
That's it.
That's the picture.
That's the picture.
Sandero Farm.
Yeah.
The condos are right here. The pool for the condos is right here on this part of the property. They only have this much left. It's a perfect square. They refuse to sell it for Buffless. Excuse my language. Cheap. See the condos I still live in. I'm allowed to speak ill of those condos because I know them. But I remember when this was all sand pits, it was barren, completely done. Did you? My husband rode his bike back here. He went all the way up to Wanaque. He grew up in Haskell.
So you're doing good with your model ship. Hey, you know that mousetrap incident? I got back to work and I heard hell for about 3 weeks for that.
Really?
It was a kick. I got a laugh out of it. I go, boss, I'm not going to say anything. One day the word is going, whoosh.
I'm in the middle of 2 dollhouses now.
Yeah, your daughter was saying you were
doing one for her. It's a log cabin dollhouse. It's huge. And the other one is a Queen Victorian. That's 4 foot by 2 foot by 3 foot.
Now you got the space in that room to put it now?
22. Well, they can do whatever they want with it when it's done. One is for my stepdaughter and one is for her. And as they're being finished, they can go in there and they can spend the rest of their life buying furniture for it. But I'm completing the outsides and they can do the inside the way they want. The Queen Victoria's got 22 rooms.
Women's always want those personal touch to a house, you know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You build the structure, they fill it. Yeah, you're very fortunate you kept this stuff. I mean, for everybody. I get a kick out of the cemetery here.
Yeah, I have photos of all the cemeteries before they were dug up, including Monksville.
How many? I know he was mentioned, but make it brief. How many were there again?
5, including Monksville.
Oh, there was 5, including Monksville. Because I was down because I'm a member of the Passaic County Historical Society. And of course, you know, they have files down there of different things, of, you know, vertical files. And I was looking under one of the cemeteries because I was looking for something concerning cemetery history down in Passaic, city of Passaic. So I was looking and it had a file for Monksville. And of course, that wasn't that long ago of what they went through to trying to find the families and where they met by the Reformed Church there by the dam. And how they went about exhuming the... Oh, it was interesting. You know, there wasn't too much left of people, but I mean, just moving the stones, moving what they found, and... But I imagine this must have been a process in itself. But he was mentioned about the one cemetery, the one at the end of Father Hayes. There's no headstones.
They're laying all over the place.
Oh, are they?
There's a lot of them laying on the ground there. A lot of them are down and probably close to the river, you know. But even them, even Monksville, a lot of them stones years before they even took Monksville out of there. I can remember, of course, like hunting grouse in there and find a stone. So there's stones they never got. They just got buried, I'm sure.
But this lake too, up in where was it? Up in Kinnelon. These girls were going for what they call their Gold Star Award. You know, and it's like our equivalent to like an Eagle Scout. They only been doing it in recent years. They never really had like a highest award. Their project was to redo a cemetery off of Boonton Avenue near Faison Lake. Now, they really worked their butts off in this thing. But besides digging down years of debris, it's finding where the headstones were. And they managed to put, like jigsaw puzzles, a piece with this end, a piece was at that end. And they were discovering plots that nobody knew existed.
I do them watch. But
In other words, what they went through and documented and posted and what they can get from the county.
Thanks for letting us look at your collection.
no problem.
What was this, exactly in 25 when it occurred?
25 they started really digging.
Oh, okay. But what was that one tunnel he was talking about?
That's in Great Notch, in the town of Great Notch.
Oh, it is?
Yes. Because this aqueduct goes from here all the way to the Newark line. Matter of fact, the last piece of it is at Belleville High School.
Okay.
All right, and then it goes into Newark.
Oh, it goes actually that far?
Well, because they get the biggest percentage of the water.
Newark, right.
Yeah, so the aqueduct actually goes to there. So they had to go through Great Notch, which was nothing but a ledge mountain, and they dug a tunnel right through it.
Now, I know Great Notch is like down by West Patterson, Little Falls. That one right there?
Matter of fact, he's going through the pictures of it right in that book.
You're gonna put that as antique too?
Yeah. You giving me this?
No, I don't have one. I don't have another one. I took it. Maybe I said I didn't see her.
See, you see all the interesting ones of Great Notch?
Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah. Modern, oh, Wanaque.
Yeah, it's just seen it, and I just wondered what it was.
I've been looking like this at one time. It's like, where's the house?
Which part of it? He's got a lot of stuff for I got a lot of stuff, but really furnace that. There's aerial photographs in here, 1953.
The one I have home, of course, the one that's in that book over there, the last book.
Yeah.
This one over there, where they were raised, they called it the old place.
Opposite of Post.
Which is it? Speedy, the one that was work, and they ended up beyond there.
Westbrook.
They went Furnace Avenue, there was no dam right? And going back, still not there, going back, the river, their place, over to the place was beyond that river.
Yeah, well, I don't look at maps here. I'd have to look that up on the map, you know why? Because I don't even think I got a postcard or a picture.
I know people that live there.
Here. In the new Jubilee or the old one? Because the only brooks, unless it was a spring or something like that, was Westbrook that ran in there.
Lake Erskine, is that under the reservoir too?
Bristol?
Yeah.
No, Lake Erskine.
I mean, oh, is that just known as, well, of course, Erskine Lake as we know it, right?
That right there is the bottom of Skyline Drive.
Oh, it is, okay.
Well, 511 is Skyline Drive.
Where it splits off by the stop sign, right?
Ringwood Junction. Ringwood Junction. You mean Erskine? No, that was Twin Cherries Junction. Probably the same thing, because you had Haskell, right? You had Midvale, then you had Twin Cherries Corner, that had no building right. Then you had Erskine, Wardsville, and Monksville. That's the only train station. Yeah. And it's on the mouth of Westbrook.
And he had a big house there, which he carried for.
For the hook road.
Well, I was fine, when they first started Erskine Lake, it probably, did it start as like a private community type?
So
That's what I was going as, like Erskine, was there another Erskine club or community besides Erskine Lake we know today?
That picture that you see here was the original one, that burned down. And then they built it again, they rebuilt it.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it looked different than.
Furnace Avenue was named because of the old furnace back there.
Freedom Furnace. But your farm had to be back, your place had to be back there almost to Westbrook. You know, because Twin Cherries Crossing was probably Ringwood Crossing. Because there was no other place that didn't have.
They come here to teach us.
I don't know.
They came here from France. What happened to the old cannon that used to be over there with the First World War veterans?
Back in by the Woolfields.
Oh, it is? Now, I heard they said it had the second World War II community building you sold.
I know they got a big one up there, but I don't know. I know they got one up there by the Woolfields.
This here is the house. Your father came with Dad. I don't know if they added onto it, but it was a big house. And my grandmother, so great pictures of them. They're really good from church. And he took Uncle Bruno and he first one. She took the horse and buggy to go up there. And they had coal setters.
Come out of
Keep
his
their stuff on it. He said, Sally's in the house for a little while. And that's how she took a coal setter. So I don't think the wagon covered over, and I think she would have caught on and she said, you know, Sally, I better get this to 80 soon because I think it's going to fly. So I think he may put a lot of something there because it was my grandfather because it was a lot of boys and he was